The conversation around vampire Lestat is getting very weird. Spoilers if you aren't up to date with the vampire Lestat. I'm one of those lucky people who got a chance to see the concert live. And even at the event, I noticed there was a significant amount of people who hadn't seen Interview with the Vampire and felt like they didn't need to. So let me clear it up. There is so much context that you need from the first 2 seasons that directly tie into this first episode alone. I can't believe that rhetoric was out at all. And I'm not going to get into the reason why people think that that's okay or why they feel so willing to get into the show now, especially since the first 2 episodes are easily accessible on Netflix. But instead, I'll just go into the episode because so much happened and it is so very different from what we're used to. So let's get into it. First of all, I was immediately hooked at the beginning of this episode. I haven't read the book, so please no spoilers here. But it seems like Lestat has passed away, or at least has put it out there that he's dead. And everyone has convened for a reading of his will and testament and an auction of some of his items. And off the bat, I have so many questions. First one being, how did Armand and Louis get so injured? Especially since it's already been established that vampires recovered. Was this recent? Is this something that they can't heal from? What's going on? Because Louis is missing a full leg. I think I haven't noticed that the guy from the Talamasca was there as well to get some of Lestat's stuff. And I'm wondering, why is that? I love that even in his death, Lestat has found a way to still be petty. Burning his items while they're being auctioned is so up his lane. But I will say this, that does not take away from the value of what he's offering. Banksy actually did something similar recently where he sold an image that was put into a frame that shredded it the minute that it was auctioned off. At the end of the day, I feel like having something destroyed, especially by the artist, only adds to the value, especially since when you buy something of that value, you're not going to use it. You're putting it on display. Who cares if it's destroyed? That's just my 2 cents. It was very noticeable to me how different Lestat's will was this time around versus what we saw in the second episode of season 2 with Louis in France. Because that Lestat made me almost forget how abusive he was in the first season, at least by Louis' account. And this time I just kind of giggled and was like, yep, that's classic Lestat. As I mentioned before, I got a chance to see Sam Reed perform these songs live. He is equally as magnetic as he seems on screen. I thought that he would lip sync or something like that, but he was fully in character the entire performance. And it just left me questioning, like, is this Sam Reed singing or is he acting on stage? Which I definitely think it is the former, because when you see Sam Reed in interviews, he's nothing like Lestat. And I think that just adds to the level of talent that this actor has. And I could wholeheartedly understand why he has such a cult following. The moment that Daniel said that you requested me, I was like, again, of course, this is very much Lestat. I think this episode does a really good job of highlighting how hurt Lestat was by the book, not just because the love of his life was accounting events that I think he perceived differently, and also seeing the pain that he caused the love of his life. But I think more than that, Lestat is hurt that Louis could ever depict him in a negative light, or that he glamorized certain aspects of him. Of all the things that he said was a lie, I think the fact that Louis didn't mention his scars, which are canonically in there, must have been the most painful, because why wouldn't you mention it? Is it to protect me, or was it to kind of put me on this pedestal to explain why you fell for me in the first place? I will say that the writers are milking this memory is a monster type thing, especially with Louis being an unreliable narrator, and then again with Lestat, because Lestat and Louis' interaction in the finale of season 2 was not in Louis' mind, and he also didn't have scars there. But the fact that we've been getting these stories from these 2 unreliable sources makes it so that any plot hole or mistake that the writers make can be fixed the moment that we point it out. And you know what? I respect them for that, truly. The ghost scene with the groupie, I think her name is like Baby Jane or something like that. I've been seeing it online. Again, I did not read the book. It's very interesting to me because, one, it confirmed that there's ghosts and something mythical, which obviously you would know if you saw some of the spinoffs, but also it's kind of a confirmation, at least for me, that Claudia will be back with a vengeance as a ghost. You best believe she will be haunting Lestat, and I cannot wait for that moment. I hope she reads this man to filth. Bang Bang has to be the corniest name I've ever heard for a group of vampires, and I definitely think that's on purpose. Not only were they corny and not prepared, but they are bookworms. They use the book to find out ways to see out Lestat's weaknesses, which is definitely something that nerds would do. I just saw saw The Lost Boys on Broadway, and that's a huge plot point of the story, is that the younger brother is obsessed with comic books, and that's how they figure out how to defeat vampires is through the comics. And I'm not saying that's a call out to it. I'm just saying nerds rule. And we always have the answers, so you should be listening to us. I've been seeing people complain about Lestat dismissing the non-binary's characters' pronouns. And I have to say, that's so very Lestat. I don't think that that was the show trying to dismiss it at all. That couldn't care less. I think he's hundreds of years old, and he's always been like that, even with Louis, when Louis was trying to explain his blackness to him. So I wasn't surprised at that scene at all. Daniel was having the time of his life. I think he absolutely loves being a vampire. It's something he's been asking for over 40 years. And now that he is one, I can see it just oozing from him enjoying life, him not being bogged down by this disease anymore. And I'm not gonna hold you. When he came to save Lestat, I thought he was kind of hot. I don't know if it was the power, the fact that he was able to defeat all these vampires, but I was digging it. Also, he has to be a vampire just as new as them, if not newer. The fact that they were able to take advantage of them so quickly definitely emphasizes the fact that the Fang Gang are so unserious. Finally, that final scene, which I didn't get it at first, but then everyone in the theater that I watched it at confirmed to me that the woman that Lestat has been texting was his mother. Oh, that's nasty. But once again, Louis having an Oedipus complex to that level fits. I have to say, I really enjoyed. I have to say, this is such a jarring installment of Interview with the Vampire, especially with the way that the series was structured for the first 2 seasons. That's obviously by design. Lestat is dismissive. He's not going to give out information the way that Louis was when he was literally there being interviewed by a professional and wanting to tell his story. That just wants to be seen in a better light. And it's clear that he is disoriented himself. Him being so heavily drugged and just upset all the time is going to play into the narration that we see. I'm not saying that this narrative choice is bad, but I do have to say I like it less. This is why I wholeheartedly recommend you watch the first 2 seasons of Interview with the Vampire so that you're invested in this story before you get to Lestat, who is just so cavalier, so blasé about everything, and at times made me not care about the story, like, oh, we're just having fun, when I know that there's depth and that we're going to see something very deep with him. The moment that he started stuttering when his mother got in, I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere, and I'm ready for that. That being said, I think it's a solid intro. It didn't blow me away the way that the premiere of Interview with the Vampire did for the first 2 seasons. For that reason, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to give it 3.5 out of 5 Frankie Flames. I still think it's worth watching. I think it's gonna only get better, and I'm willing to see it. I think all the performances were very good, and I can't wait for more. But tell me, what are your thoughts on everything? Let me know in my comments below.